I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Bowl Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, December 7th, 2022 to order. Clerk, can we please get roll call?
11 present, 1 absent.
11 present, 1 absent. Please note that Commissioner Anderson is absent from today and is excused. Commissioner Sorge, could you lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Fellow Commissioners, Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which will greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bowl. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for November 16th, 2022. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to approve the minutes that occurred on the meeting of November 16th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to items not addressed on tonight's agenda, we do not have any. So we'll move on to the Chief Executive's report. I want to recognize this date. December 7th, 1941 was one of the most tragic days in U.S. history and in world history, in fact. And being a person that was in the Navy, it was one of the most tragic days of naval history as well, as the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So I'd like to recognize this day. A lot of times I think that the longer that we go, the more things become forgotten, and it was a turning point of our country at that time. So I just want to recognize that today on tonight's agenda. I was honored today to get to go to a couple ceremonies. The first one was at noon today, where we honored the local heroes, and it was such a fantastic ceremony because it honored people from all different aspects, whether nonprofits, volunteerism, clerks at convenience stores, people that are making a difference in everybody's life every day, and a lot of times never get recognized. And so 10 individuals were recognized today at the local heroes dinner, or I should say luncheon. They were honored with a $1,000 stipend from the sponsors to that, and it's just such an enlightening thing to go to and see just how great of a community that we have, and so many people that are so involved in our community at varying levels. So that was fantastic. And then I just left the tree remembrance ceremony, and that was it was an honor to get to go speak at that today, because I was able to recognize the loss of my mom that passed this last year, along with all the other people that passed in Butte-Silver Bowl this last year. And it was just a really enlightening ceremony where they place ornaments on trees. The tree will be placed in the courthouse. They'll bring it up here for everyone to see. But it allowed people that kind of grieved in the last year to come together and celebrate the lives of their loved ones. So that was a fantastic event, and I was very proud to be a part of that. The next thing that I kind of want to talk about is the fentanyl campaign. Fentanyl, I think many of you have seen that the fentanyl campaign has kicked off, and the ads and the stories are on social media, on the news, in the media, and they're having a real dramatic effect. I've had many comments of how the powerful impact that it has. It's heart-wrenching to watch, but I think it's making an impact, and it's just the start of the kickoff of that campaign. We're going to be continuing to work on that. The strategic plan on the fentanyl campaign will be coming out soon. We lost one of our leaders of that was helping lead the charge for us with Tina Randall, as she's moving on to another job, and that's a loss for our Butte-Silver Bow, but she had a great opportunity to move on to another job, and we wish her well with that. But we have Emily Lott, who will be continuing to lead the charge for us on that, and we'll be moving that strategic plan forward. I also want to recognize Senator Tester today, and this goes back to Danette Gleason. As we were looking at some of our funding that we usually receive, it's called PILT funding, and that's payment in lieu of taxes. And we're going through some of the budget items, and Danette recognized that we were not receiving our PILT funding this year. And so as we looked through the list, all counties except for the two consolidated governments, Butte-Silver Bow and Anaconda Deer Lodge, was not receiving that funding. And because of that, we were able to contact Senator Tester and Senator Daines and also notify Anaconda Deer Lodge that they were not getting that funding. Well, today Senator Tester introduced a bill to correct the issue with the PILT funding, and so with that we can anticipate that we will get to receive that funding. But there was a mistake at the U.S. Treasury that did that, and the language that was in there was saying that consolidated governments were not going to be able to get that. So we thank Senator Tester. I thank Danette for recognizing this shortfall that we were going to receive in here. I mean, it again shows the value of people that pay attention, and it was due to Danette's due diligence that we caught that mistake. And so that's fantastic. We also, as we're moving forward with the fire mitigation around Basin Creek Reservoir, Senator Tester has been a champion for us moving that forward as well. And today you're going to see an emergency suspension of the rules as we are moving forward with having the emergency situation at Basin Creek Reservoir on that. So Senator Tester has been a champion for us in his office. We say Senator Tester, but I gotta give credit to the local office too. They're very engaged, and they're in our office a lot, and they keep us up to date on what's going on, and it's fantastic to have that support. Also, I just kind of want to touch on, I know that there's been a couple articles that were written in the paper that put a negative light on some of the things that we've done with the ARPA committee. And I understand there were issues maybe that I don't think there was anything done wrong with what we did there, but it brought a negative light to something that was really positive in the community. But with that, we need to do better. We need to work better together in government to make sure that we are championing what we do here. It's important that we work together on the issues as we move forward. I think it's lost that, I really am very proud of what we did with the ARPA money, and we created a grant program that I know no other community created. There was a lot of work that went into doing that grant program. We made people, the final rule kind of dictated how we did things, and there was a lot of work done by Butte-Silver Bow employees that was extra that we did to make sure that we were able to put that funding out there, and I think that we benefited. $1 million at Highlands College for workforce development. Over $600,000 went out to local grantees, and then we brought in over $8.7 million of extra funding with the ARPA grants. And so it was good work, but we can do better. We can do better working together, and we'll continue to do that. And so I just want to touch base on that and know that, we really, I don't think anyone's intent ever is to not involve the public, and there was no intent at all to do that, and I don't think there was any mistake in how we did things, but we'll continue to move forward, and we will continue to work together. So with that, I want to close out the Chief Executive's report, and I will move to any public comment on any item that is on the agenda tonight. So if you'd like to speak on any item on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, your address, and then what you'd like to speak to us about today. There's a button there. There you go. It'll turn right up there. There you go.
Good evening. My name's Matt Arno, and our address, I work for Montana DNRC. Our address is 2705 Spurgeon Road, Missoula, 59804. And I just wanted to urge you to pass the emergency declaration for the forest health and wildfire hazard emergency in Basin Creek watershed. I can tell you, as a forester, having been there a few times and looked at it, I think you clearly have an emergency there. If that catches on fire, your watershed is very much in danger. And I think nowadays you could probably say when that catches on fire. I think that the issue is finally getting the attention that it deserves. I think Tim Leahy and others in the Forest Service are moving forward the way they should be, but I think anything you can do to elevate it and show the potential peril that your watershed is in is a good thing. And I think declaring an emergency just makes it easier for those of us that want to support you and put it in comments. And if by chance there ends up being litigation on the project, I think it helps to have the emergency declaration and really just elevate it to the level that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Please come forward, state your name, address.
Good evening, Tim Leahy, Butte District Ranger with the Forest Service. Speaking on behalf of the Forest Service, my address is 1820 Meadowlark Lane, Butte, Montana, 59701. I also wanted to offer my support for the resolution you're looking at tonight in Basin Creek. I want to let you know this project is the top priority for our forest, and we're working diligently to get that done. We're starting our scoping period, which is basically the kickoff of NEPA, so that's the first opportunity for the public to comment on this project. I would ask if the commission feels like it is worthwhile for them to offer a letter helping us guide this project going forward. And thank you for your continued support with this project as we move down the road of getting this important work done.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward, speak on any item on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, and that will be the Section 1 consent agenda, Section A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 18. Do we have any friendly amendments or segregations? Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I just have a friendly amendment. If we go to the second page to 2022-557, where it's Chief Executive J.P. Gallagher requesting Council Commissioners' concurrence in the appointment of Hattie Thatcher, Dr. Sarah Maloney, and Dr. Seth Cornell. In the caption, it was just inadvertently left out Mike Welker, so I'm just going to read it into the record, and it is attached, but just the caption needs to be corrected. It's Mike Welker, 2210 Harrison Avenue, Butte, Montana, 59701, and his reappointment term would expire on December 31st of 2025. So that's all I need to do on this. There's no motion required. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. Are there any other segregations or friendly amendments? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I would like to segregate communication number 8, 2022-562, number 10, 22-564, and number 13, 22-567. Thank you.
67?
So that would be number 8, communication number 2022-562, number 10, communication number 2022-564, and number 13, communication number 2022-567.
Correct.
Are there any other segregations? Seeing none. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to approve Section 1, consent agenda A1 through 4 and B1 through 14, with the exception of Item 8, 2022-562, Item 10, 2022-564, and Item 13, 2022-567.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? I should ask, can commissioners vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 8, communication number 2022-562. Get my glasses on. Kelly Sullivan, BLDC and Headwaters RC&D Executive Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorized to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign 2 job creation contracts between Butte-Silver Bow and BioSqueeze Incorporated and Audacitor Consulting. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I segregated this because when I read the PDF, I see the Odessa one was for $7,500, which I kind of understand, but the BioSqueeze one was for $124,000, but I don't understand if that's for one position or numerous positions. So I would just like to have a point of clarification if Ms. Sullivan's here to maybe explain that to us.
I don't believe she's here, but I believe that Community Development Director Burns would maybe be able to help us with this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive and Commissioner Fisher, members of council. These job creation contracts have actually already been passed through this body. These are amended documents that are coming back because the state had to add some additional language to these documents. But they are based on job creation and they're a reimbursement for job creation. So Audacitor, as you're correct, Audacitor is creating one position. That position has already been created. And they're looking to close that out. So we're just kind of playing catch up with paperwork. The BioSqueeze grant is actually, they haven't started creating those jobs yet, but they are based on a number of jobs. And I am not going to do the math in my head right now, but it is based about $7,000 each position. So that is quite a few jobs to be created.
Thank you, Director Burns. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Director Burns. I appreciate that information. That's what had me concerned was $124,000, and I wasn't sure if that was for 1 or 5 or 10 positions. And I'm not very good at reading them fine line contracts, so I appreciate your input, and I thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, I would like to make a motion that we concur and place on file communication 2022-562.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication number 2022-562. Is there anything on the question? Oh, Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. This might be an absurd question, but I was just looking at the contract in the exhibit. What happens in the event, like for example, on Section 1, line E, Colleen, Deputy Clerk and Recorder, if she's included in this but she retires, how does that work?
Commissioner Thatcher, I will defer to County Attorney Joyce on this. I'm not sure. So if somebody's retired that is listed in the communication, what do we do? Or in the contract, I should say.
I don't have the contract in front of me. Maybe Karen can help out here.
Director Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Thatcher, members of council. I'm not sure which section you're looking at. I don't have it in front of me either, but most often there is a management plan listed in the contract as part of the whole thing, and it identifies people's roles as we move forward. It often identifies the budget director, myself, the county attorney, the chief executive, and our roles. And usually what it refers to is that person in that role or their replacement or whoever would take that position on should they retire or leave their position midstream.
Thank you, Director Burns. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure it didn't have to become amended again in the event when Colleen is retiring. So,
Members of council and Commissioner Thatcher, Chief Executive, I sure as heck hope not.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
Director
good.
Burns.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thatcher. All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve or to concur and place on file communication 2022-562. Is there anything else on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 10, communication number 2022-564. Beth Worm, Human Resource Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign the employee group information through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana for January 1, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 for the city, county of Butte-Silver Bow. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. This is another one that I segregated due to lack of my intelligence reading this, but I read this and there's a separate one on there for the clerks for different, but this appears to be throughout the county, and they read it. It reads something in there about Medicare and being the first insured and the second insured, and who pays this. I'm kind of confused about that a little bit, and I was in the HR office the other day getting some information, and I guess I got a little more confused, and this wasn't up at the time, but I would just like Miss Worm, if she's around, to maybe let us know a little bit more about how this works, and whether a person's on Medicare and the county pays their supplement, or there's some issues there that are kind of gray area to me, and I'm not very good at this stuff, so I just thought someone could explain it, because I don't see. Oh,
Yep,
she's here.
she's
Thank
here.
you. Yeah. Thank
Commissioner
you. Okay.
Fisher. Director Worm.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, Council. Yes, so we use a company called Payne West that kind of helps us navigate this world, because as we kind of talked, it can be definitely confusing at time. These specific documents that are in front of you are specific to the clerk's bargaining agreement, so they're not across the board for Butte-Silver Bow employees. It's not our self-funded insurance plan. This is specific to the clerk's bargaining unit, which is a fully funded plan that they went out on. So this is just making it so that we can basically administer their plans for them and kind of have more assistance for them, because they kind of have had issues with that, and so this year they decided to use us and kind of bring it back to have the HR department and the payroll department have a little bit more admin access to their plans. So that's specifically what these two are about, is specific to the clerks. As far as Medicare, we usually forward a lot of those questions to Lori Farron, our Payne West representative, because she oftentimes helps our employees navigate that system, because it can be very complicated at times. But oftentimes when you're on Medicare, it's better coverage than what Butte-Silver Bow has at times, especially if you're a retiree or you're paying out of pocket. It can be spendy, like everybody knows with insurance can be spendy, but Medicare is a really great option for people that are eligible. So oftentimes it's just a better choice for people to make, to go on to that plan. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you, Director Worm. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate the input. I guess what I read, and as you know, I'm not on the county insurance, so
Yeah.
it's different, but it read in there that the people that are in the clerks union were on Medicare, that Medicare would pay before the county's insurance would pay, is the way it sounds like in this. So I guess I got a little confusion in there that an employee is paying X amount of dollars for county health insurance, but getting covered by Medicare. There seems to be a little gray area in there that is either beneficial to the hospital or the doctors, and not so beneficial to the employee or the person getting the services from the hospital or doctor. So I do understand where you're coming from, but that was a pretty, I guess I don't understand the correlation between number 10, Communication 564, and Communication 567. They both seem to be the same type of thing, but one, I guess, is specifically mentions the clerks union, and the other just mentions the clerks union the same, I guess. So are these two communications more than related, or, I mean, I just don't know.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher, Director Worm.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher. Yes, they're absolutely connected. They're both two documents that are required by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana. So yes, they're connected.
Okay. Commissioner Reardon, and then if you have another question, we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I've been listening to this here, and I too am confused, because basically in a Medicare procedure and all that, this would be a supplemental factor. Is that what you're trying to tell us here?
Commissioner Reardon, Director Worm.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Reardon. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I can definitely get you guys more information if you'd like,
Okay.
or if
I think Director Gleason would be able to add a little bit and help Director Worm out a little bit
Yeah.
on this. Thank
So,
you.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, Commissioner Reardon, been on the insurance committee for so long, so I can answer some of these questions, I think, and help Beth out a little bit too. So on our plans, several years ago when we brought before you, probably 2 or 3 years ago, on the self-funded plan, and then more recently when we switched to Blue Cross Blue Shield, we did require retirees that go off our plans, including retirees from now the clerical union plan, that if you're Medicare eligible, you have to take Medicare primary on the plan. And that's just kind of a normal practice. That was the advice of what Beth was getting to when she was discussing that Payne West brought forward to us. Because in the past, and it was actually penalizing some of the retirees by them staying on paying the high premiums of our plans, because they pay the full premium. When you're a retiree, you pay the full premium. There's no discount as a premium. You know, there's no contribution by the local government. It's a full premium. But they would benefit more by going on Medicare and then Payne West helped them find additional supplemental plans, because at that point in time, it did not even make any sense for them to look at our high premium for a supplemental plan. And that's the same type of language that was put into the clerical union, because if anybody that has Impera, that's our pension plan with the state of Montana, if you have Impera plans, then you have to offer health insurance coverage to your employees and retirees. It doesn't mean you have to pay any premium for the retiree that goes off, but you have to help them. And, excuse me, we still offer that, but in lieu of the fact that we can, because of some of the legality and some of the changes that were made, part of ACA, and then further out changes that were made, we can ask that they, or require them as retirees to jump on Medicare first. So Medicare's primary, and then they can choose our insurance as supplementary, but it would not make sense for them to do that. They can go get an additional Medicare supplement plan that Payne West is more than happy to help them, or they even help them with other programming, community health, and help them connect into other players that can help them seek some of that supplemental funding. And that's the same language in here in this plan. And then the two different communications, and Beth you can probably talk about it too, is one relates to us, the ability for us to generate their premium costs, and then the other communication, number 13, describes some of their programming and the applications of their programming. So it's not self-funded like our plan, like the non-union employees and some of the unions participate in the self-funded plan. This is a separate plan for the clerical union. It's fully funded. It's not self-funded. So they have to have separate documents from our self-funded plan documents. And that's kind of what this is establishing. Insurance is difficult. It is money. I think too that there is different times throughout the year, like change of life events that we've kind of spoke about before in the past too. So that again triggers different things related to Medicare. So that can also probably, like Beth said, Beth, you can work with Beth and work with our consultant if the employees have those events happen to them.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Danette, I was just confused. Didn't about 2 years ago they opted out of the county's insurance?
Commissioner Callahan, Director Gleason.
So Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Callahan, yes, they did. So they opted out of the self-funded plan as a bargaining unit, and they chose to go to a different broker and a different agency. They used the Montana Co-op for their carrier, and they've just kind of re-looked at their structure. And again, it's something that we all do every year. We look at what our funding is and how we fund, and what's the best cost for our employees. And I think the group, the clerical union, had done that, and they found a better opportunity to come back to Payne West as their consultant, and then work through, when she worked on their plan with them, she found that Blue Cross was the better carrier for them. It could have been Pacific Source, it could have been any other one, but when they bid it out for their particular group and what their experience factors are right now, that it just turned out to be Blue Cross, similar to what we have as well. I can't tell you that the plan's similar. It's probably much different than our plan, the self-funded plan, because we are self-funded and this is fully funded.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Any other questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Danette. Thank you, Beth. I guess the only other question apparently the clerks union and the clerks have decided, they've been involved in this process and they've decided that this works best for them also.
Commissioner Fisher, Director Warm.
Yes, thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Commissioner Fisher, yes, that is correct. This is a choice that the clerks made.
Thank you, Director Warm. Any other questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thanks, Danette and Beth. At this time, I would make a motion that we concur and place on file communication 2022-564.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication number 2022-564. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes, and I feel much more educated as I'm moving closer to Medicare age about where I'm going. Okay, moving on to item number 13, communication number 2022-567. Beth Worm, Human Resources Director, requesting Council Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign the benefit program application through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana for January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 for the city, county of Butte-Silver Bow. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I think at this time we've answered or got most of the answers we requested. So unless anyone has any other input, I would make a motion that we concur and place on file communication 2022-567. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication number 2022-567 to concur and place on file. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving
I
on.
just have one question, Chief Executive Geller. Is there going to be a test? That's all I want to know.
I don't have that good a recall. We'd be in trouble. All right. Section 2, ordinances and resolution introduced to judiciary. We have 3 of them. Resolution number 2022-78 and 2022-79 and 2022-57. Whoops, I grouped up there. I'm off. 2022-80 will be introduced to judiciary. Moving on to section 3, ordinances and resolutions for final reading. We have one resolution, or two today, I should say. Resolution number 2022-77. Clerk, can you please read the caption?
Resolution number 2022-77. A resolution authorizing and approving the sale of certain parcel of real property known as 123-135 East Parks, Butte, Montana, and more particularly described as the east half of Lot 15 and all of lots 16 and 17 of Block 27 of the original town site located in Section 13, Township 3 North, Range 8 West in the city, county of Butte-Silver, Montana, and a certain parcel of real property known as 135 East Park Street, Butte, Montana, and more particularly described as Lot 18 of Block 27 of the Butte town site located in Section 13, Township 3 North, Range 8 West, in the city and county of Butte-Silver, Montana, for the purpose of economic or community development in accordance with the provisions of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to place resolution number 2022-77 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place resolution number 2022-77 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to Council Bill number 2022-13 and ordinance number 2022-13. Clerk, please read the caption.
Council Bill number 2022-13, ordinance number 2022-13, an ordinance amending Chapter 228 entitled Board of Health of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code, BSBMC, specifically amending Section 228040 and 228050 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to place Council Bill number 2022-13, ordinance number 2022-13 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place Council Bill number 2022-13 and ordinance number 2022-13 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to Section 4, ordinances and resolutions for suspension of the rules. We have one, resolution number 2022-81. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing Council Resolution number 2022-81 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36 of the Rules and Order of Business of the Council of Commissioners, thereby having it considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving back to resolution number 2022-81. Clerk, could you please read the caption?
Resolution number 2022-81, a resolution to declare an emergency forest, health, and wildland fire threat for Basin Creek watershed located within the city county of Butte-Silver, Montana, and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to place resolution number 2022-81 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place on final reading for resolution number 2022-81. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. In the presentation of the people that come up to the podium tonight, there was a request for a letter backing this motion and all that. And I don't know if this would be the time to attach it to this motion so these people can get their paperwork in order and get this going. So I would like to make that as part of the motion.
So you would like to make a request in the motion to request a letter from the Forest Service,
No,
from Tim Leahy?
We send it to them in support. That's what
Oh,
they
I got
requested.
you.
Right.
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on up. Yeah, maybe we'll clarify exactly what that is.
I can clarify,
Okay.
and that would be for a future date. We're scoping our project in Basin Creek on the Forest Service land, so that's a time for the public to comment on the project. And that's what I was mentioning is if the
Yeah.
Council of Commissioners deemed it worthy to submit a comment letter, we would appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy. I believe that we would go to them as a council and request that. So, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I believe we would attach a desire to write a letter of support in the future. Would Madam Chair like to amend her motion?
I'm not sure if this is the
If we
the
just need
time
to
on
do
this
this
one.
first.
I don't think we do I think we do this first,
Yeah.
and then when they have public comment, when they're opening it up for the NEPA, right? That's when the public comment would come from the council. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to concur and place on file, or to place on final reading resolution number 2022-81. Could commissioners please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. And I want to thank Tim, Matt, and Steve for being here today in support of this. I think this is a critical thing that we really put a lot of focus on, and we have a lot of support through the various agencies. So thank you for being here today. Moving on to, I gotta find my, gotta excuse me, I'm
Calendar.
yeah. So we're moving on to calendar and other meeting events. Please note all the different meetings that are noted on here in December. And next, we'll move on to any public comment on any matter not on the agenda tonight. If you'd like to speak on any matter not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name, address, and what you'd like to speak to us about. Seeing none, we will move on to a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signal by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.